Well, this morning we're continuing in a series that has become one of my favorite summer traditions here at Countryside. It's a series, if you're kind of joining us for the first time or new to this conversation, it's a series called Summer Mixtape. And this is volume 3, so we've done this 3 times now. It's a series where we take some time in the summer to listen specifically, pay attention to the mixtape that is at work in our lives. And then we listen to the Psalms. We listen to what God has for us from the mixtape for the people of God. And we say, so God, if this is the mixtape I have been listening to, that's been shaping the way I understand myself, that shapes the way I understand the world around me, God, would you help me understand what I really should be listening to? And so we're taking some time in the summer to pay attention to the mixtape and then to say, God, would you give us a new mixtape where we need a new mixtape so we can operate differently? And so this series this time around is a series that's it's a road trip edition. It's a series comprised of the Psalms that are known as the Songs of Ascent. It's a set of 15 Psalms that the people of God, as they would have journeyed to Jerusalem, would have used as the road trip mixtape as they prepared for worship, as they were formed along the way, as they would journey together towards Jerusalem, where they would have been worshiping, and they would have used these same songs as they would gather and worship, but these songs would have been the soundtrack for a journey with and to God. And so there are songs of encouragement. There are songs that deal with the realities of life. There are songs that help us remember and understand who God is and what God has done for us. So it's beautiful. But this week, this set of Psalms, Psalm 130 and 131, it's 2 Psalms that are unique within the Songs of Ascent. They're unique because they address a unique challenge for us as we approach the Songs of Ascent. And it's simply this: it is hard to sing songs of ascent when we find ourselves in a hole, right? When we are so low, when we find ourselves in the depths, it is hard to sing songs of ascent. Or maybe we're on a climb and we've started the journey, and now all of a sudden we've come around and we can now see the summit ahead of us, and we realize just how far we still have to go. It's hard to sing songs of ascent in moments like that. We start to say things like, man, that high place that we were heading toward sure seems a lot higher now that I'm thinking about climbing up there. I better get to work. And just like that, we try to use the same things that have gotten us into our problem to get us out of our problem. We all have a friend, or maybe we are the friend who, when we travel with this friend, or when they travel with us, we take a trip and a vacation and what should be restful, and we manage to make it work, right? Whether that's the itinerary, we look at it, it's like, I'm tired just looking at the things that we're trying to accomplish. I'm tired looking at what we're trying to accomplish every day. I'm going to need a vacation from this vacation. This vacation is going to feel like work. Because what we do when we see everything as work, we make the answer to every problem work, strive, figure it out, do more, do better. Which brings us as a foundational truth that is true of life, that helps us understand all these pieces. It brings us to this truth. Life doesn't work when all of life is work, right? Life doesn't work when all of life is work. We were not created to work and work and work. Life doesn't work when all of life is work. And so we find ourselves in a hole and we keep digging deeper and deeper. Out of the depths, I cry to you, Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy. Psalm 130, the first 2 verses. These 2 Psalms are 2 songs that give us moves for when those moments in our lives when we feel like we're out of moves. The first move is a journey from the depths of despair to hope. Out of the depths, I cry to you. Psalm 130 is literally written as a song of ascent. It starts in the lowest place that the psalmist can imagine. Like depths is actually a technical term. And in that time, depths is it's like so deep in the water that there's no point in even trying to swim to the surface. You can't survive the swim. You're so far down. There's literally no hope. And so the psalmist is picturing this moment. I'm in the depths. And it's in the depths I use what little I have left, the breath I have in my lungs to cry out to God, saying, God, I need your mercy. Out of the depths, I cry to you. Starting in the lowest place the psalmist could imagine, out of the depths. I actually experienced something of the depths this week. Actually, I would maybe say it this way. I think I could find the depths of despair on a map. It's Grand Junction, Colorado. Let me tell you why. This is so my family, my wife and I were in Orlando, Florida. We were dropping our daughter off. She's doing a 6-month college program with Disney. So we spent the week in the most magical place on earth. Beautiful. Friday, we start our journey back to Rapid City to spearfish. And we start the journey and it doesn't start out great. We start out in Orlando and a storm comes through. We're delayed out of Orlando. So what should have been a little over 3-hour flight back, 4-hour flight maybe, back to Denver, that then we connect and we go on to Rapid City, turned into a 10-hour ordeal that left us in Grand Junction, Colorado. So we're flying, and the pilot is making comments like there's weather in Denver and we may need to divert. And I'm watching the map as the plane is flying. I'm like, may need to divert. We've already diverted. We're past Denver. We're heading towards Grand Junction already. I'm doing the math. It's one thing to get from Denver to Rapid City. You guys have flown into Rapid City. Once you miss that connecting flight, things just sort of like the domino effect. Things start to go poorly, right? So doing the math. Okay, how do we figure this out? And we get to Grand Junction. We land, and the pilot says, "Look, we're not going to go to the gate because there's actually not anyone who can do anything about this to get the gate to the plane." Oh, also, we've received a report. We understand we're out of water in the bathroom, so if you guys can just hang tight. We've put some of those little sanitizing wipes that we give you when you get on the plane back in the bathrooms. It's like, that is not exactly going to cut it. Anyway, that was a whole different situation. But so we're on the plane and we're navigating this, and I'm on my phone. My wife is doing a very holy, God, I trust you. And I'm thinking, what are my options? How do I figure this out? Right? She's like, God's got this. I'm sure of it. And I'm like, he's got it, but I'm just checking to see if there's any rental cars available in Grand Junction to figure out how, I trust too, but I'm going to trust and have a backup plan. And we're working the plan. The rental cars are not panning out. We're sitting on the plane, and the pilot says at one point, if you'd like to get off here in Grand Junction, that's okay. And I'm like, I don't know, hedging the bets. I'm watching. There's now been 3 flights out of Denver to Rapid that are canceled. I'm like, we're going to be competing with everybody and their brother who's trying to get to Rapid, all of it. And so he says, but just so you know, there's no rental cars available in Grand Junction right now. Actually, I already knew that. Thank you. Very helpful. So we're on this situation. It's like the back and forth. So we're grounded out of Denver. But hey, good news, folks. They're letting flights from Grand Junction fly into Denver. Great. Bad news. We can't get fuel on the plane. There's nobody at the airport to put fuel on the plane. Hey, good news, folks. We're third in line for fuel. Here we go. Great. Hey, we're fueled up. We're ready to go. Hey, bad news, folks. The flight crew just timed out. And at that point, you talk the depths of despair. At that point, I was like, it's just over. This is never happening. We're never, somebody else is preaching on Sunday, maybe for the next 3 weeks. We're never going to get to Rapid City. This is never going to happen. And at that point, it's the depths of despair. And I'm like, it's over, Julie. It's over. We're not getting to Rapid tomorrow. We're going to be sleeping in an airport tomorrow. We're going to be trying to figure out how to get to Rapid, all of this. And then the row in front of us stands up and they say, take off their jackets. And they're like, we're a flight crew. We can help. And it was literally the flight attendants from a different flight were on the plane. They said, we still have some hours left. What if we took over and we just did this? And so from the depths of despair to hope, we can make this happen. Long story short, I made it. My wife made it to Rapid. My luggage did not make it to Rapid. I got to make another trip yesterday, got it figured out. Here we are. Depths of despair, Grand Junction, Colorado. There are so many ways for us to find ourselves in the depths. The psalmist is writing from one particular depth experience where our choices have brought us into the depths of despair. And they keep bringing us deeper and deeper into trouble. And so just imagine over the centuries as this song has been sung, how many times as the songs of ascent have been sung, that somebody on the journey, as they were singing this song, they get to this part. There's been songs about deliverance. There's been songs about hope, all these kinds of things. And it gets to this song and the lyric starts is, out of the depths, I cry to you. This is my song. That's what I'm experiencing. I know exactly what this feels like. Everyone worshiping and celebrating out of the depths. But it's a beautiful psalm that's written specifically to be used in lots of situations, to be memorized and be repeated on a regular basis, to remember how it is that God works and meets us in the depths. Lord, hear my voice. It's not a demand of God. It's a request. It's a faith-filled statement saying, God, I'm asking for your mercy, for you to meet me and help me in the depths. God, with the last breath that I have in my lungs in the depths, I can't get myself out of this, but God, would you help? And it's a cry for mercy. If you, Lord, here's the reason for hope. If you, Lord, kept a record of sins, Lord, who could stand? But with you, there's forgiveness so that we can, with reverence, serve you. It's a good question. Who could stand? If God was tallying up all the mistakes, if it was a matter of us figuring out how we could behave and do the best things and do the right things and act better and do better, and then if we did the wrong thing, it was a mark upon a mark upon a mark, with the only way out us fixing it for ourselves, somehow balancing the scales at least so that we're okay. There's no hope. Because with God, it's a different kind of story. With God, there's forgiveness. When we confess, when we own our mistakes, when we own the pit that we have dug ourselves into, we find ourselves a forgiven people. He says, out of that forgiveness, then we can serve. Out of that forgiveness, then we can operate in a relationship with God. Because we can't try harder or do better our way out of the trouble that we find ourselves in. Could anyone get it right on their own? And it all sounds like bad news until we hear about forgiveness so that we can serve you. Serving as a response, not serving to get God to do something, right? Well, the Psalms of Ascent refuse to be transactional songs. The songs of Ascent refuse to allow us to negotiate with God and say, God, if I get it right, if I do all the right things, if I can somehow figure out a way to behave and do better and try harder, then I can get myself out of this situation I've got myself into. The Psalms refuse to allow us to make that negotiation. And so while things aren't as they should be, the psalmist says this, I wait for the Lord. My whole being waits, and in his word, I put my hope. I wait for the Lord more than watchmen wait for the morning. More than watchmen wait for the morning. Repeated to give emphasis. I wait. It's a bad situation. I can't fix it on my own. But as I trust God, that's what the psalmist is saying. As I trust God, as I cry out for mercy, as I wait for him to show up, as I wait for him to do the work that only he can do, I anticipate God's action. It's not just killing time. It's not just biding our time and hoping that things get better. It's not just passing time. It's anticipating God's action. With my whole being, I wait for God. And in his word, I put my hope. Like watchmen waiting for morning, not watchmen waiting without hope, not hoping that the morning will come, but knowing that the morning will come while dealing with the realities of the darkness that they find themselves in. Waiting with anticipation for the sun to rise, knowing that the sun will rise, but still having to deal with the darkness as they wait. And so picture this song of ascent from the depths to the heights, this song of ascent, this call to hope. Picture this climb out of the depths. It's this picture that the psalmist is painting of, I have found myself in the depths, and yet God has heard my cries for mercy. That God is doing a rescue work in my life. And so it's this climb from the depths to the heights. And as the psalmist approaches the heights, the ascent of this part of the psalm, it's a picture of climbing out of the depths to a high place, now calling down to others, giving others reason to have hope. It's a testimony. I was in the depths and God rescued me. And so now an impassioned plea, trust God in the depths. Psalm 130, verse 7 and 8. Israel, put your hope in the Lord. For with the Lord is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. He himself will redeem Israel from all their sins. If you're keeping track, it might be worth spending some time with your Bible and circling or somehow marking or taking note of the words that are associated with God in Psalm 130. Mercy, and forgiveness and hope and unfailing love and full redemption. These words, right? When we're in the pit, we can't picture this. When we're in the depths, we can't imagine that God could operate like this. Mercy, forgiveness, hope, unfailing love, full redemption. He can handle the messes that we've made of our lives. So how do we get in on that? If those are the things that God does, or if those are the ways that we should understand God as he is at work in the world around us, at work in our lives, how do we get in on what God is doing? From the depths, cry out for mercy. We confess what we've gotten wrong. Say, God, I need forgiveness. God, I have dug myself into something I could never dig my way out of. And we own it, and we give it to God, and we ask God for forgiveness. And we wait for the Lord. Waiting like waiting for the dark to give way to the dawn. And then I put my hope in him. And what's beautiful is in the testimony that the psalmist gives to the people of God from the heights after climbing from the depths and now finding himself on the ascent. He says he will forgive Israel. He will redeem Israel from all their sins. Which means he can handle your worst choices. Which means he can handle the biggest mess that you have made of your lives, that God can handle. When it says all their sins, it's like that's everything. So whatever it is that you're carrying that you think God wouldn't want to deal with or that God couldn't deal with, all their sins. His unfailing love, his full redemption, all their sins. He himself will redeem them, will redeem you. And here's the beautiful thing. What they had hoped for, we know by name. It's Jesus Christ. When you look at the picture and the words that are associated with God and this, the expression of this kind of work that God does, it's what Jesus came and did. That Jesus as the expression, the embodiment of this work, mercy and forgiveness and hope and unfailing love, full redemption, forgiven and redeemed from all our sins. And so from this high place, there's perspective. It's like climbing one of the peaks around Spearfish, and you look and all of the things that feel like such a big deal all of a sudden aren't such a big deal when you get up high. And from this high place, there's perspective. And from this high place, there's peace. Psalm 131 is a reflection from a high place like that. It's also our second move. It's finding peace and quiet. And it starts with perspective. Psalm 131. My heart is not proud, Lord. My eyes are not haughty. I don't concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. The psalmist has perspective, looking out on a world where there's all sorts of things that seem insurmountable. Where there's all sorts of things that could create anxiety and fear and concern and wondering how they're going to figure out their way through all of it. What kind of work is this going to require of them? Says, here's what I've learned. I'm not going to be proud. I'm not going to look at the journey that I've walked and say, look what I figured out. Look how I pulled myself up and got myself out of trouble. Look what I have accomplished. Look what I have endured. Look what I have done as I've tried to make a way for myself. So I don't concern myself with stuff that's too big for me. I don't concern myself with stuff I can't deal with. And so it's not an achievement. It's not the psalmist saying, look, I've got it all figured out. Look what I have accomplished. Look what I have managed to do in my own life. It's the fruit of having learned the lesson of suffering well along the way. It's not the psalmist on the summit of the mountain looking out and saying, I got here by handling all the hard stuff myself. Right? That's pride. He says, I'm not pride. My eyes are lifted, but they're not haughty, right? I'm not looking as if I'm the one who accomplished all of this. That'd be learning the wrong lesson from suffering. Like, look what I have endured. Look what I've gotten through. Look how I've hunkered down and managed to be strong enough to handle all the things that have come my way. The lesson from suffering is that we're learning to trust God in our suffering, even when he doesn't take it away. But I've calmed and quieted myself. I'm like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I'm content. This particular verse has been one of the great lessons for me this time in spending time in this particular psalm. The picture that the psalmist is painting is a beautiful picture of the what could be in our relationship with God. The psalmist is painting a picture. It's like a weaned child, like content with its mother, which the weaned child doesn't need anything from its mother. It's not content with its mother because it's getting everything that it wants. A content child with its mother is enjoying her for who she is, not for what the child can get from her. To picture our lives in a way where we say, I have a relationship with God, where I'm not simply looking to God for what I can get from him, but I'm looking to enjoy him for who he is. I'm content in him solely on who he is. Just the reality of who he is, his character, his nature, who he is and what he's done for me, not what I can get out of him, not a relationship where I'm trying to get him to provide for me. I'm simply enjoying him. Like a weaned child, I'm content. Israel, put your hope in the Lord both now and forevermore. To quiet our souls isn't a work that we do. To quiet our souls is living in a promise that Jesus made. Is living in a promise that Jesus himself made and that he keeps. Remember, life doesn't work when all of life is work. Jesus promised this in John 14, verse 27, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. This isn't the psalmist saying, I figured out how to quiet myself. This is the psalmist saying, God has given me. And out of what God has given me, I'm at peace. Remember a few weeks ago, if you were with us, we reframed the pilgrim journey, not just walking to God, but learning to walk with him, walking with him, and learning to walk in his ways along the way, being formed along the way. And so we look at these two moves that we find in these Psalms, and we look at them through what Jesus does, what he has done for us. We make the journey from the depths to hope through Jesus. We really only have one move, and that's work, 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 try, but with Jesus, as he fulfills the words that have been promised to us, as he fulfills the God words that show up in Psalm 130, redeeming and giving hope and forgiving. Let Jesus lead you from despair to hope. He has already done all the work. The move we have is work, and Jesus has already done all the work. And we find peace and quiet in Jesus. We receive from him. We don't posture ourselves in a way. We receive from him what he has done for us. We enjoy him for who he is and not just what we get from him. We live our lives with a quieted soul, loving and being loved, not trying to get from or seeing what we can get, how we can get what we want, but living in what we've been given, what has already been offered to us. And so these songs of hope are really an invitation to move from work to trust. So the invitation is simple this morning, to make the move from work to trust. And then when we do work, we do work from trust, not for trust. So trust Jesus with your past. This is the psalmist saying it's important that we own our mistakes. It's important that we recognize how it is that we ended up where we are. It's important that we know that we can trust Jesus with the mistakes of our past, with all the stuff that's piled up behind us that we're carrying with us as we step into and walk in relationship with him. He can handle your past, your biggest mistakes, the biggest failures, the biggest things that you've gotten wrong. Jesus can handle it. So it's a move of confessing and receiving forgiveness. Trust Jesus with your past. Trust Jesus in the present. This is living our lives in Jesus' promise of peace. It's where we put these songs on repeat. Actually, it might be one of the greatest practices for us in this season is just to take Psalm 130 and we commit it to memory and we repeat it over and over again to remind ourselves of the journey that we walk with Jesus. Or we take Psalm 131 and we make it not only a testimony but a prayer. We say, God, would you help me live like that? God, I want to live like a weaned child who's simply enjoying you for who you are, not for what I get from you. You may have dug a hole that you're trying to work your way out of. Or it may be that you found yourself in the depths. And we take Psalm 130 and we say, out of the depths I cry to you, Lord. And then we name the depths that we find ourselves in. Those moments of despair, and we give them to Jesus. Some of you right now are in these moments where you're like, it might not be Grand Junction, Colorado, but you can find the depths on a map because it's right where you're standing. It's like the depths and the you are here marker on the map is in the exact place. You know exactly where that is. You know exactly what the situation is. And this is an invitation to say out of that depth, and name it, I'm going to trust Jesus with it. It's 2 moves. Give it to Jesus and then trust him to write a song of ascent in your life. That's what he came for. Sometimes it's waiting. We trust him in the present. I wait for the Lord. In his word, I put my hope. But in all of life, living like a content child in his mother's arms. And it might be that one of the greatest habits of our lifetime could be taking the moments that take our breath away and say, God, I trust you with this. God, I trust you with this conversation that I'm about to have. God, I trust you with this meeting I'm about to walk into. God, I trust you with this hard thing. God, I trust you with this situation. God, I trust you with this bill that I didn't know was coming. God, I trust you with this situation that I'm finding myself in. God, with the pushback that I'm receiving, with the way I'm being treated. God, I trust you with this. And then take that and trust Jesus into the future. Living with an active hope, whatever heights or depths may come. Living our lives saying, I have hope because Jesus has already done the work. I'll trust him. I'll be at peace in him.